Todd has built a 30-attorney, $18 million law firm and is crushing it out in Colorado. He came from nothing, had to bankrupt his first business. He has built the tools for truly scaling a firm. You are going to love this episode. Todd, thank you so much for joining us on the Sterling Family Law Show. We were catching up before the podcast. We have very similar stories, which I think is so awesome. Congratulations on your success. For our listeners' sake, let's start at the very, very beginning. Tell us how you started your firm, where it's been, and where you are today.
Oh my gosh, Todd, well, thank you for having me. I love what you're doing, and it's exciting just to share some experience, right? Like, get it out there, be of service and see if you can help some people out, right?
100%.
So I started, I moved to Colorado in 2008, 2009, started in a basement that was in foreclosure. 2010 had, first I was a stepfather, immediate stepfather, with two great boys. And then 2010 is when my first daughter was born, and I also filed personal bankruptcy. So coming out of that,
year.
Yeah, great year. And it was fantastic because coming out of New York, where I had a firm before I moved to Colorado, I was in real estate. So it's like, I'm going to be flipping houses. I love real estate. I love the creativity of it. And boom, recession hits. And then I move out here and I get into bankruptcy. One of the things I start with, because I was like, I just filed bankruptcy and I think I can do it better than that dude just did, So, over time I just, kept failing forward. Leaned a lot on my family, and having, that kind of motivation really just pushed me through. Of course, I was raised by a single mom, social worker. And I eventually got into family law. I had a passionate about it that, helped a lot in terms of the hard days of when you're first starting out and how do you make a buck in this thing while being of service, and people would ask, what kind of law do you practice? And I'd say, what kind of law do you need? In the beginning, it's whatever you can do. And
revenue is oxygen.
Exactly. And so after a while, we just became better and better at it. We attracted better talent. The better leader that I became, I think, the more longer people would probably stay and the practice with me. Highly stressful. I suffered Guillain-Barré syndrome as a result of the stress in about 2013. Just kept failing forward, learning lessons about mental health, physical health, spiritual health as you keep going. And now to a point where, we've always been focused on performance, and that's something that you can always control, I found. And that's what Burnham Law is based on. And we, I think we're one of the larger family law firms in Colorado, and we do exceptional work in other areas. So that's like the long and short of it, man. Like, just real quick. Yeah.
Did you have aspirations when you started this firm to grow to where you are? I mean, doing over 18 million in revenue and having 30 plus attorneys, it's an outstanding achievement. Maybe from the get-go, you're like, holy cow, how'd this happen?
You know how it happened? Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And the same with you. Like, it sounds like we have very similar firms with similar mindsets of being of service. And I think that's kind of really important piece,
100%.
So I think the thing that happened for me was that I knew that I was passionate about law and advocating for people. I also knew that I was far better at the business of this and understanding having the emotional intelligence kind of piece of this to see how it can be a living, breathing thing that serves people, right? And to do that, I had to make a commitment to work on it and not in it. And it was like a transition of like very much an intentional move of, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it, because otherwise it doesn't work for me. It's just, that's just a choice. And so when I have that choice and I put it in those words, and you have your family that you're responsible for, and that's what my why, and then those things just work, and you fail forward, you get kicked in the teeth every single day. You've got to keep inspiring others around you to appreciate the kicks in the teeth. And if you can do that, then I think you have a chance of staying alive. And it's pretty much that. Like, just get your friends and family to, support you and sponsor you in the beginning. Really focus on performance, because it's, one person wins the cost race. We can all compete for the performance side of it. Like, I want to be better than you, right? I want to do a better job I just want to be the best version of ourselves first. Like, how do we just keep getting better, right? Let's look in the mirror rather than compare to other people. But then the competitive side of me is like, yeah, but I still want to beat your ass, and I think that kind of mentality is something that's, from an athlete's perspective, I think that's what carries on, and that's what we want to be like, right? And same with you. You're just finding a different way of doing it and
100%.
getting your message across, right? So I'll now speak to law students at Colorado at CU Law, and give, inspire through experience. But, great is usually on the opposite side of hard. And I think that's really the thing that we want to get across to law students that I teach, lawyers that I consult with, things like that. Especially the people at Burnham Law they get that. It's kind of like, if you can have that kind of mentality that, like, I want this shit, then you're going to do fine.
You started in 2010?
2009 from Albany, New York, to 2010 to Boulder, outside Erie, actually.
Bring us back to like those early days when you're grinding.
Dude, oh my God.
Because I think whenever I tell our story at Sterling, everyone's like, well, how'd you do it? And it's like, well, we just, one lawyer at a time, one attorney at a time. When we started, we were everything to everyone, same as you. Yeah. And once we got focused and we said, we're only going to do family law, and we got things in order, it really started to explode. Was that a similar story for you?
I think that when you're really good at something, it's undeniable, right? And then the key is to just keep getting better at that thing that you're good at. Like, don't put me in a patent law firm, Like, I'll grind and I'll be 20% as good as the next person who's naturally gifted at it. Like, when you have a lot of people that are passionate about family law, especially, it's easy to build, right? It's easy to build. And then the harder piece over time is like you want to be really dialed in on quality control matched with career control in the other people. Like, you want this thing to be a team. It's not a family. Like,
never a family.
Families, this is a team, and you have to be really protective of the people that are on that team. And you can't just fill spots and think that, oh, it's because I make X amount of dollars, and it doesn't work like that. Culture will get ripped apart quickly when, Mr. Green shows up and people are focusing on those kinds of things. And Mr. Green follows service. Like, that's the key. Money chases service. So that's the motto. I mean, it's a business and we're providing really important services, right?
That's great. Yeah. How have you had to change as a leader going from one attorney to 30?
Hiring really well the people that work directly with attorneys. Leslie Schaefer and Donna Bystricky, they, with their leadership board, the way that we structure it, it's a collective leadership model. And so all these people, they all have different pieces to it. And when you get to that level, you focus on the things that you can control. And as a founder, I knew that this was only going to be as good and as big and as impactful as I could let go of, right? And so I let, strengths on strengths. I let the people that know what the heck they're doing really, really well focus on those things. And I focus on the things that I know that I'm good at. And so that's what teammates do. Like, you can only have, one of each of us, and let's add some real value to it. And I'm really lucky to have a lot of good people that have been here at Burnham Law for a long period of time.
I think you touched on something so important for scaling a law firm and really hard for founders to do, which is let go of the vine.
Which
is trust and verify. I talked to a lot of founders on this podcast, and a lot of them early on in their career, before they really started to grow, wanted to control everything, needed to validate everything, needed their eyes on every single thing. And once they learned to delegate and learn to trust, that's when their firms blew up.
Well, and then you start figuring out what else are you good at? You start working some other muscles. You start doing some reps a different way that you haven't done before, and you might find out, damn, I'm creative. Wow, I'm really good at marketing. wow, my messaging is really dialed in. That's really interesting. When I'm not in it and I'm working on it, you're forced to find different things. Like, after a while, when you're in family law and dealing with trauma all the time, like we at Burnham Law, we like kind of compared the practice itself to a trauma hospital, emergency room, right? It's the same kinds of concepts. And so the way that we care for a client is like a person going through the process. It's more like it's the triage in the beginning. We're not like the surgeon at the end isn't the person that's calling the shots up here, right?
Can you confidently answer this question in 3 seconds? Do you know if your firm is winning or losing? If you can't, that's something we need to fix urgently. We are hosting a free webinar that shows you the 8 numbers that answer that question. You'll learn where you're leaking revenue, what to do to fix it, and how to embed this into your daily operations. It's called How to Moneyball Your Law Firm. Get bonus templates, checklists, and worksheets if you show up live. Link in the show notes to register. As your firm continues to grow, and you had mentioned having care in your firm. And I think one thing that we've found working with a lot of firms is when they're small, you have your paralegals or you have your assistant doing intake. And when your assistant is busy and is doing all the things and dealing with all the fires, and then they have another call come in, that irritation comes through on the phone. And what I always remind our clients is when someone calls your law firm about a family matter, oftentimes this is the first time that they're telling this horrific story about their life to someone other than their immediate family. And if you can't be compassionate during that moment, you're going to lose out.
Intakes to me is the most important. I tell this all the time. It's the most important department that we have. It's the first time that you're going to, when they call, they were already sold. They're sold to a certain extent because what they've seen on the outside, they believe in. And it's whoever then gets back to them quicker and who actually has substance behind it. Typically, people in these situations are going to be able to spot bullshit and people that are just going through the motions and not really empathetic. They're not really connecting. Or they don't have to necessarily connect. I'm not looking for a social worker when I hire a lawyer. What I do want is like a team that can be there for me in that respect if I need it. But primarily, you're there to be successful in a case, depending on whatever success means in the case, right? It could be settlement, it could be go away, whatever it is. When I look and I see that the ability to have that kind of connection, I think it's very rare. And I think that those are the pieces that are missing, and you can be different than other people, which is a differentiator, right? With intakes in particular, I hired a person that's been here nearly 10 years, I think, Karen. She was at the Café and she was serving food. And she's from Long Island. And she is very opinionated. And she's very fun. And she's energetic. And she's honest. And I said, what better person would I want answering the phone and letting people vent to? She's so caring. All of these things that make you a great listener, right? Which is the thing that most people want first. Then it's followed by, like, they need
Can you execute?
Yeah. Can you execute? Are you just really good at this part? Or can you also be a killer if necessary? Depending whatever mindset or framework they're already in their head. And in the end, the killer piece is always like negotiating and settling that you control, right? Okay. Like these are the things that we just learn over time. And so to be able to have those kinds of emotionally intelligent people in your intakes department, and then also have just a constant idea that this is triage. We're in a trauma mode here. These people, part of the recovery for them is being able to be heard, right? And then it's like I need a diagnosis, I need an X-ray, and I need a prognosis. We're just in the ER here. And then we got long-term care, right? So it's the same stuff. And if you have that kind of approach, like what's in the client's best interest right now? We should check in on them. Boom, that's a workflow. That's something that you put in your system. And like, those 5-star reviews come, it's because it's not what you did, It's how they felt during it, right? How did it make them feel? How did it make these people feel? So, yeah, I
People
feel
will
really
forget what you say, they'll forget what you do, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. Ty, I really appreciate your time today. Again, congrats on what you built and what you're building. Let's assume that our listeners are trying to scale and they have 3 or 4 attorneys and they're trying to go to 20. What's the best piece of advice or pieces of advice you can give them to go to the next level?
A couple of things. One is, if you have a link there, we sent you. It's for what we're doing every Thursday at 11 o'clock Mountain Time. It's called Ask Anything. And I'm just gonna do for like every week at the same time for 1 hour, well, 45 minutes. For 45 minutes. I'm gonna like open up just my time and just answer questions. And I think that that's just a good example of what I would do. I would keep educating myself. Understand that the mentality of all of this starts and ends with an obsession, right? And you have to keep grinding. Don't think about this as any balance, you know? There's no balance here. There's just grind and not grind, and try to come out of it happy, healthy, and more educated on the life that you actually want, right? Rather than the life that you're grinding for. So like, what is going to sustain you in the end? And then when you are comfortable in that space, then I think you're going to be able to lead and figure out how to attract people more easily anyway. So from going from 3 to 38, it's like embracing and appreciating every time you get your teeth kicked in, because you're always going to get better. You're going to find different people, you know, that will try to teach you like, oh, you know, spend this on marketing and this and that. I think just get as much information as possible. Keep yourself educated. Depending on what you want to do, have that intention and set some deadlines, right? And if you do those things and have the mindset of service first, like remember that money chases service. If you do that and you don't worry about the money, then you're going to add it and you'll grow and you'll scale and do all those things.
So good. I so appreciate your time. Wishing you the best. Looking forward to the Ask Me Anything. I'm going to show up and ask some hard questions. So
you better, man. I'm going to make sure I have control over the keys and get them out of there.
Appreciate your time today. We'll talk to you very soon.